What do you do when you start worrying about things, when you start panicking about things? You're sitting there and all of a sudden your heart starts racing and you start sweating and you're like, I don't know what's going on. I'm worrying about this, I'm worrying about that, but what is it? And there's a difference. There's a difference between anxiety, which a lot of that has to do with, and then there's also depression. Anxiety is really when you start fearing about what is going to happen. That's a lot of how I see it. Whereas depression is a little bit more about the past. What you're thinking about in the past that's making you upset. I'm going to tell you a little story about the first time that I actually suffered from almost a panic attack. I remember it was after I had left Channel 11, and it was actually my birthday weekend, and we were in a Mexican restaurant, and there was this couple who was next to us, and they were talking, and there was a couple of their friends too, and they were talking about their job, and how they want to stay, and the reason they stay, and they would never leave because it's security, and because they have vacation days, and because they have this. And I'm sitting there, me, who just left my job, and I'm starting to listen to them, and then my heart starts racing, and then it feels like the room is getting really warm, and it's like closing in. So what do? I start to just sit there, and I'm trying to zone them out, but I can't. It's a tight, enclosed restaurant. So what I do, I get up and I change my seat. And just as that was happening, our table was free. So we were able to move on, and I was able to get out of that situation. But that's how it can start to happen. So I've kind of learned, what do I do? Because that's never happened to me. Because like I said, I was in a business where it's like, there's no time for panic. There's no time. You just got to go, 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 go. And keeping busy is one thing that will keep your mind off of it. But how did I deal with it? That was something that was new to me. This is a for real thing. And I've seen it in my own family, and it breaks my heart because it's not just a worry. It takes over your body. They physically get numb. They physically cannot walk at certain times. Their family members have to pull them out of the car because they cannot walk, because the anxiety has taken over them so much. Are you thinking about things that you can't control? Are you thinking about the future? Talk to yourself. Talk through it. Sometimes I do that, Lisa. I did that yesterday. I was packing, and I started getting a little crazy, and I was like, I'm never going to finish this house. We're never going to move on time. It's not going to happen. There's so much stuff. I haven't finished this. I got to work 6 days next week. And I started going through it, and I stopped myself, and I talked to myself, and I said, Lisa, you need to calm down. You're worrying about what's going to happen. Just focus on right now. Focus on doing what you have to do. Ask for some help, and everything's going to be okay. The one thing you have to do is figure out what's triggering it. I know a lot of people in my family were talking about this, what triggers that emotion, or what triggers that feeling for you to feel that way. For example, in coronavirus, a lot of people had anxiety, right? So what triggered it? It's because you're hearing so much about it. You're hearing so much about it, and all of a sudden you could be driving in your car, and you're listening, and you're driving, and you're by yourself. This is usually when things like this happens, so you're by yourself, you're driving in your car, you're listening to everything on the radio and everything that's going on, and you start to panic, and that's how something starts. So you have to figure out what that trigger is. Once you realize that, then you turn it off. You turn off the news, you turn off this, you try and shut out, and you try and think about something other than what's going on. That kind of works for you. It's kind of like, that game you play, I Spy, with your kids sometimes, I spy this. If you start panicking and you start, you're thinking out of control, just say, find something that's green, or find something that's blue, just to throw your mind and get you to focus on something else other than what's really happening in your mind right then, just so you can calm yourself down. Another thing you can do is you ask yourself, what am I feeling? How am I feeling? Have I ever felt like this before? And if so, when? What was similar between those two things? Because sometimes it could be something even from your past that's triggering it. I'll give you an example. Maybe you have panic attacks about your financial situation, and maybe you think about the last time that you felt that way, or why you felt that way. Maybe it's because your parents growing up, maybe they went through a tough financial situation, and you saw what they went through, and you saw, the frustrations and the arguments and all that kind of stuff. And maybe that is something that triggers why you have your panic attacks about your own financial situation. Sometimes we're just so busy and things are happening and things are happening and things are happening, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, it's like hits you out of left field, and it piles on you, and all these emotions come at once, and you're like, what's going on? Like, why am I feeling this way? Because you were so busy, you didn't even realize that you were just so stressed out, you know. So sometimes that happens, and you just have to first give yourself the grace, like, okay, it's all right, I'm frigging out right now, but it's okay, I'm gonna get through this. And like someone said, who just said before, you talk yourself through it. Talk to yourself. It's okay, people. I talk to myself all the time. I'm my own best friend. Thank you all. Have a great night. Mwah. Love ya.